Hey there guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Awkward Dungeon Master. This week I want to talk to you guys about conflict at the gaming table. So in the last couple years, since I have been running and playing games in public play spaces, I have noticed something. When people get frustrated and angry at the gaming table, they have a tendency to rage quit or to have their characters commit suicide. I think that's kind of ridiculous. Both cases where I saw players rage quit, it was because they were telling the party what to do, and the party did not want to do what they were telling them to. I don't really feel like that's a good reason to rage quit, dude. You don't get to dictate how the entire party operates. Leadership isn't about making all of the decisions. Leadership is about having the people at the table trust you with what's going on. And that doesn't mean you making blanket decisions for the entire party when they have not decided that that's your job. And of the times that I've seen people have their characters commit suicide, it was because the player was frustrated. They were frustrated that the game wasn't going the way that they wanted it to. And to that I say, dude, communicate. You just gotta talk to the other people at the table and tell them what's going on. Why are you frustrated? What are you not getting out of this game that you thought you were gonna get out of it? Maybe take a minute and look at what you're doing. If what you're doing is negatively impacting the game, maybe you should stop. At the end of the day, the game's about having a good time, and if one or all of the players at the table are not having a good time, then why the fuck are you there? Let's talk about actual solutions for these issues for a minute, because I feel like that's what this video really needs to be about, is finding ways to work around this kind of crap. Because unfortunately, it's necessary. I would like to add, I have never seen any of this kind of stuff happen in a home game for whatever reason. I think it's just the people that play in home games know each other really well, and they already kind of are on the same page. Whenever you go into a public play space, you don't know what you're walking into. You can get any variety of players, age ranges, different backgrounds. Everybody's going to have different lives, livelihoods, and philosophies coming to the table. If you're going to play in a public play space, you have to be willing to be accepting of people of other backgrounds, because frankly, you're gonna run into it. At the end of the day, Dungeons & Dragons is about teamwork. So when you come to the table, be prepared to function as part of a team. And when conflict arises, you have to be willing to talk to each other, you guys. And I don't mean accusingly. I don't mean when somebody brings up an issue that they may have with something that's going on in the game. I don't mean get defensive. You should be able to have an actual adult conversation about what's going on, why you're frustrated, and how you guys can work through it as a team moving forward. So the most recent situation that I had at my table where I had a player rage quit was very simple. And I honestly believe there was a bit of an overreaction and some miscommunication that went on there. They had been clearing out this entire dungeon of bad guys, just systematically wiping them off the face of the planet. And they get into this last room, and there's a group of low-level cultists in there, and the party started to murder them. I had one player who said, without discussing it with the party, addressed the NPCs as a whole, and said, if you come out from where you're hiding now, we won't kill you. We were in combat initiative. The other players had no interest in that course of action. So they asked a few questions, because they kind of, I think, understood what that player was trying to do, but they were also trying to roleplay their characters. So they turned to me and they said, are these, because they had run into some slaves throughout this dungeon as well, so they thought, I think, that maybe the person who had addressed the NPCs was confused and thought that the individuals that were hiding were slaves, but they weren't. They were just really squishy cultists. And they said, hey, are these slaves or are these cultists? Because the answer to that question dictates what my next move is going to be on my turn. And I said, no, they're definitely cultists. They're wearing robes. They have the sigil of the cult that you've been clearing out of this level of the dungeon. What are you doing on your turn? And they unloaded, man. They just took them out. It was the barbarian. I think they just dumped everything they had into that turn and wasted like half of them. When that happened, the player who had decided they were going to let them go got really huffy and started to pack all their stuff up, and about halfway through stopped whenever I had the next person in initiative go. That person addressed the group. So are we killing them, or are we going to talk about this? Everyone had a very short discussion about what they were doing, what they had been doing. And they're like, okay, well, this is no different than any other room that we've been in this dungeon, and we've just been murder hoboing everything. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to charge attack one of them. Okay. As that person started killing others, that player ripped their player miniature off of the table, threw all their stuff into their bag, and stormed out of the room, and didn't say a damn word to any of us. I believe that that player's reaction was unfair. I think it was unfair of them to not try and communicate with anyone at any point during or after this interaction about why they were frustrated and what they think everyone's reaction should have been. And I will say this, if you are ever a person who has rage quit a game, there is a discussion that happens when you leave. And typically it involves questions that we try to answer without you because you've not given us the option to communicate with you about them. And those questions are usually, why was that person upset? Did we do something wrong? Are they coming back? The answers to those questions were, that person was upset because we didn't do what he told us to do because he thought he was in charge. And no, we did not do anything wrong. We had been following the exact same course of action that we had been this entire time. This is what the predicted outcome for this scenario should have been, and I don't know if they're coming back. As the Dungeon Master, I never received any kind of communication from them, and frankly, that attitude wasn't really welcome at my table. So I'm gonna be honest, I did not make an attempt to reach out to him either, because that kind of bullcrap is not welcome at the table. It's not beneficial to the party, it's not helpful in any way, and frankly, it's unpleasant to be around. We're in a public play space. You have to be willing to communicate with the people that you're playing with. Every single session, you're going to deal with conflict in some way, shape, or form. It could be conflict between two PCs. It could be conflict between a PC and an NPC. Or it could be conflict between players and Dungeon Master. Conflict is a part of this game, you guys. You're moving through a world that is fluid and has intense, or should have, intense and in-depth characters with emotions and visceral reactions to the things that are happening around them. So conflict is inevitable. You just gotta find a way to work with it. Every session is an opportunity for you to work through conflict, whether that be a straightforward combat or a social encounter, a disagreement, your party sitting down and talking about which path that they want to go down is a potential conflict. It's an opportunity for you guys to communicate with each other, get to know one another, find out what people's tendencies are, or get a feel for their temperament. You just gotta be willing to talk to each other. We're all human. We all make mistakes. You just gotta be willing to own up to them when you make them. You have to be willing to apologize when you're wrong. You have to be willing to be open and honest about when you're having a bad day outside of the game. You have to be open and honest when you're feeling frustrated in-game. The only way that you're going to be able to actively work through conflict is by communicating with the people around you. And at the end of the day, this entire game is about having a good time, and it's about teamwork. So look to your right, look to your left. Those are the people that are on your team. Hopefully you guys found this helpful this week. And until next time, keep it rolling, adventurers.